What's up, guys? Good late afternoon here today. We have made it to the end of another week. The weekend is just around the corner, and one thing that happened earlier today that is worth note is that the Associated Press released their All Pro team for the 2023 season. I'm a big fan of the All Pro team. I think it's far better than the Pro Bowl as a representation of who the best players are and who is deserving of praise and accolades. It's just far more likely that the All Pro team will get things right. So I generally put a lot of weight here, and I want to see what the Associated Press thought about this most recent NFL season. So the teams are out. First team and second team are both out. I'm not going to go over the whole roster here, really. I'll suffice to say there are a lot of 49ers. There are a couple of Rams as well, so you can see the competition we have in our division. You can also see that there's some, of course, Baltimore Ravens. That's the team that is currently probably the favorite to win the Super Bowl. You got some Cowboys in there as well. But how are the Seattle Seahawks doing on representation here? Well, it's not great. There's nobody on the first team, for starters, just no Seahawks on the first team All Pro, which I don't think we expected anybody, but it does represent the deficiencies that we currently have on even that side of the ball. While we have a lot of good players, we are currently missing the super duper stars that make up the upper crust of the league. And hopefully, in the next year or two, some of the guys that we have, like, say, a DK Metcalf or Charles Cross, get to that point. Because at the end of the day, you can see that a lot of these teams that have guys who made the first team are the teams that are in the playoffs. Defensively, we also had nobody on the first team. And again, you can see that most of these players are on teams that made the playoffs. I think the only one who didn't would be Sauce Gardner and AJ Cole. And I guess the Rashid Shaheed, if you're going to get into this special team stuff, Ross Matisic, hopefully I got that right, at long snapper. I guess he didn't make the playoffs either, but a vast majority of these first team All Pros are in the playoffs. So there's definitely a correlation there. You need some guys who are one or two at their position in the NFL, and right now the Seahawks do not really have those guys. However, I do have a little bit of good news if you want to dig a little bit deeper into the second team All Pro, which is exactly what it sounds like it is. Well, you won't find much on the offense. Once again, you will see a bunch of players that are not Seahawks, and you will see mostly players that are in the playoffs. The only one that isn't is Chris Lidstrom on Atlanta. Everybody else on this offense is in the postseason. Now, you go down to the defense, you're going to find a Seahawk. Bobby Wagner makes second team All Pro yet again. And that's our only one. That's our only All Pro this year. Bobby Wagner makes second team All Pro, and he is one of the very few guys to make the All Pro team at all who didn't make the playoffs. Like, you've got Max Crosby, Dexter Lawrence, Demario Davis, Jalen Johnson, Jesse Bates III, Justin Simmons. You have a few more on this second team, but a majority of these guys are still playing in the postseason. So hopefully that kind of conveys the correlation that I'm trying to imply here. But Bobby Wagner made it. Bobby Wagner made second team All Pro yet again. And I know this is going to be controversial even within this fan base. There are a lot of people who love Bobby and think he did great this year. There are a lot of people who think he was awful this year. Like, you go through Seahawks Twitter, you will find guys who think that Bobby was one of our worst players, who think that he ruined our defense single-handedly. Like, I'm not kidding. I spend way too much time looking at various Seahawks talking heads. There are people out there who think Bobby was legitimately one of our worst players, if not our worst player this year. And this is definitely going to rub those people the wrong way. They're not going to appreciate this. I'm not sure that he's an all-pro caliber linebacker, but I know that his numbers are definitely all-pro caliber. He literally led the entire NFL in tackles. I know Zaire Franklin would have beat him if he had played every game, but he didn't. 183 tackles. Also added some good peripheral stats, 3.5 sacks. You can see that 3.5 sacks is right up there with anybody else in the top 10 in tackles. He had double-digit TFLs, which is pretty rare for these guys. Didn't do a ton in coverage compared to the other guys near the top here, but still was an impact player against the run, primarily, first and foremost. And that's what you're ultimately looking for. That's what we were looking for when we signed him. And I've looked at his peripheral stats and his analytics on PFF. They're all good. They all tell me this guy is excellent against the run still, and our woes against the run were not on him. I mean, we were about as bad last year without him, so that tells me there's something else going on here. So I'm not against him getting the second team All Pro because I love him. If I had to guess, there's probably somebody out there who deserved it a little bit more, but I don't know who that person is. And I'm not one of these people trying to tell you that Bobby was bad this year. I think he was actually really good. And I think he did what we brought him in to do, and it just didn't work out the way we needed it to work out. And it's not his fault. We don't understand fully how to utilize him, I think, and we put him in bad situations all year, and you get what you get. So, yeah. Bobby Wagner, All Pro. And by the way, that moves him into a tie with Ray Lewis for the most All-Pro selections by an inside linebacker ever. Ever. Only him and Ray Lewis have made 10. So congratulations to Bobby Wagner for that. It's an accomplishment, and I know some people are not going to take very much out of it because at the end of the day, we want this team to make the playoffs. The players, how they do individually only matters so much when the team doesn't do anything. But this is still a notable accomplishment. And Bobby Wagner, I mean, easy first team All-Pro. I'm sorry, easy first ballot Hall of Famer. My bad. Definitely going to be there one day. Definitely going to be remembered as one of the great players in NFL history, one of the great players in Seahawks history. And I'm happy that he was able to come back to Seattle and do it one more time. I don't know if he'll be back next year. I don't know where he'll be next year, but he seems like he can still do things at a fairly high level. Now, real quick before we get out of here, there's a little bit more. We did have a handful of other players receive All-Pro votes. They just didn't make the teams. Devin Witherspoon, which makes sense. Sounds about right. Julian Love, I don't know about that. That one, I mean, I'm not saying he was bad, but he was definitely bad in some areas. I'm not sure he was All-Pro caliber. DJ Dallas got votes as a returner, which, I mean, numbers-wise, he did a pretty good job, right? His yards per return were good, but he also had a couple of fumbles. He had a couple mistakes. He has a real problem with letting the ball hit the ground, so I don't know about this one. Like, to me, we can do way better than DJ Dallas as a returner. The things he does when he isn't returning the ball are just bad. And Michael Dickson, who got robbed. Michael Dickson should have been first team or second team All-Pro for sure. The fact that he was a vote receiver is kind of a joke to me. Michael Dickson probably should have been first team, at least should have been second team, I think. But yeah, that's all that we got from that group. Actually, excuse me, my bad. We also had Nick Bellore getting 2 votes as a specialist, and Chris Stoll got a vote as the All-Pro long snapper. So we did have a little bit more of a presence on special teams, which, hey, I'm not going to object to that. Chris Stoll seemed to do a really good job overall. Nick Bellore, I guess, right? I mean, our special teams coverage was good, and he's one of the big spearheads of that. So, sure, why not? All right, so that's it for the All-Pro representation for the Seattle Seahawks. Bobby Wagner makes his 10th All-Pro selection, moving him into a tie with Ray Lewis for the most of any player at his position ever. Congratulations. I don't know for 100% sure if he deserves it, but I feel like he deserves it. I feel like he deserves it, and I'm pretty happy with it. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Congratulations, Bobby. Congratulations to Witherspoon and Love and Dallas and Dickson and Stoll and Bellore for getting votes at all. Especially Witherspoon getting votes as a rookie is really cool. See you guys later.